Hello and welcome to the gallery. My name is Jon and tonight we are painting a dragon, quickly, while drinking. Many years ago, during the first Midgard Comic-Con festival thing here in Iceland, I took part in the painting competition there, and for some strange reason, I managed to win that damn thing. Got this dragon here from Reaper Bones Miniatures, but it's been lying on my shelf ever since. So why not try and do something with him? Have a little bit of fun, do something different. So let's paint him up. In a really quick manner. Let's have a few brews. Make a night out of it. Now we're going to use a simple painting method on this guy, because of all the brews that we'll be having while doing this. So we are going to start out with contrast paints, a little bit of shades here and there, and mostly dry brushes and picking out details. I mean, that's the only way to do this when it's such a big model and such a short amount of time. So we start out with fleshed hair reds. Cheers on that. Throw that all over the dragon, and then we're gonna start working on the base while the red dries, because drying times. Throwing down a little bit of Elysium green here on splotches on the ground and everywhere, and then Basilicanum grey on top of all the rock work. New fresh pot of water, because the other one was really red. After all the grey dark rock work is done, we're gonna use Agaros Dunes. Cheers again. Told you I'd be drinking while doing this. Yep. Agaros Dunes on top of the ground, over the green and over the grey, really using that zenithal highlight that's down there. And it's okay if it mixes in with the grey contrast paint and the black bits and everything, because it just gives it a more natural look. And as you can see, it mixes a little bit. The brown is not a normal boring brown because it's got that green in it. And then a little bit of Redbeard armor for the treasure trove that is piling out of the crevices of that ruined tower. And then a little bit of silver here and there, because not all treasure is gold. Some of it's silver, why not? And after that has dried, we're going to throw down on that Agras Earthshade just to dry it out a little bit further later on. Again, with this is almost dry, the red bit, so we're throwing Basilicanum grey here over the membranes of the wings, just to give it a little bit of more definition. The box art has white membranes and white chest plates on him, but it looked a bit boring, and I want my dragon not to look boring, but a little bit dark and grimy and evil. So black instead of white, because it's a rather thin contrast paint. It's not the Black Templar or anything like that. A little bit of the red shows through. And when you're doing it like that, a little bit of membrane comes through and it looks a little bit nice. So dry brushing Gracier over all the rocks. And I know it's a base coat for contrast paints, but it's a nice color. It works well on rocks. So doing it like that, and the rocks are basically done for the base. And this is a super quick base. It's handy that it had a lot of texture to it and looked okay to begin with. So that works out fine. Using just an old cardboard from a Cheerios box there as a impromptu dry palette, it works nice. A little bit of green here and there, and a little bit of brown on the base, on the earth as well, and it looks good. Yep, more beer. That was a lot of contrast, a lot of dry brushing. Time for another beer. And like I said, Agras Earthshade on the gold bits, and it's okay if it mixes a little bit into the corners of the ground or into the rocks or anything. It just gives it a more natural look. And then we start dry brushing the dragon. We're starting out with a dark red, the flat red from Vallejo, and we're going over most of the top bits of the dragon for it. And then after we finish that off, we are starting with a lighter orange fire over more of the prominent bits. The top of the shoulder blades, top of the wings, the face, the chest, the hands, everything like that. But first we have to go through this long stage of red. and also throwing a little bit of red on the darkened chest plates just to tie them a little bit better together. We're focusing the dry brushing a lot on the prominent bits, like I said. The face, the shoulders, the upper parts, where the light would hit it. This has a zenithal undercoat, so the contrast really worked well with the zenithal undercoat, because then you get the instant shadow underneath and the instant highlight on top. Now we're just bringing that out a little bit further. And now we're in the orange fire on the top, and you can see it's popping it quite a lot more, but still not too much, because we're just using a soft dry brush. And we are focusing it, it's not everywhere. Now, just to get a little bit of shadows again back where the zenithal was pure white, we're throwing down a little bit of known oil here in the crevices on the top parts, on the back, on the scales on the back of the head, on the folds on the back of the wings there, and around the eyes, where we need a little bit more darkness, a little bit more interest, a little bit more fun. And I'm not gonna lie, that took the longest part of the entire time, because this dragon has a lot of scales, and I could feel time running out while doing this, because I gave myself a short time, and after all that dry brushing, shading and everything, time for a beer. A lot of beer. Okay, I was thirsty. Yep, that was a nice sip. Sorry about that. And since I finished that, time for another beer. Yep, this is that kind of night. And now we're into the details. On the 7th beer, then why not do details? That sounds like a horrible plan, but it is what it is. So we're doing his nails, well, his claws, and we're gonna just throw bone white on every single claw, and he's got a few of them. And we're gonna throw some Emperor's Children into the mouth. It's a nice bright pink, but you need a couple of layers because it's a black undercoat. And we're gonna then shade, well, use contrast paint to shade inside the mouth with Volupus Pink later on. And then the eyes. Doing eyes on your 7th beer is not the best idea, but it worked because they're big. So Orange Fire followed up by Army Painter's Demonic Yellow, and then small line to figure out where his irises are gonna go with matte black, and his eyes are ready. Like I said, Volupus Pink here into the mouth, give it a little bit of texture, a little bit of shade and glossiness. Shading Agros Dunes over the claws. Usually I would have used Skeletal Horde, but limiting our color selection as well, because, well, why not? A little bit of highlighting into the mouth again with the Emperor's Children pink. And since the tongue and mouth is done, we'll just throw small dabs of bone white for the teeth. And the teeth are done with no need to shade them. It's just one layer, and it's not that much of an opaque color, so it's almost a natural shade. And then drawing out the claws, making them a little bit more brighter, less dirty. And this bad boy is finished after this, and you know what? I'm kind of happy about how it turned out, even though it was done in only 4 hours as a really quick project just to get him off my chest. So 7 beers, 4 hours, one giant ass dragon. I'm quite glad to be finished with it, but by all means tell me what you think. Is this some kind of content that you would like to see more of in the coming weeks, months, years? Something more fun, something more different, something more, well, stupid, let's call it what it is. Just let me know down in the comments. Thank you very much for joining me here today. There are links in the description for all kinds of stuff, social media, Patreon, all kinds of stuff. You do with it what you will. Like, share and subscribe and hoard it like a dragon. But until next time, farewell.